Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. What's happening? How are y'all doing? Today, I'm here to share information about VAWA, okay, the protections you may be able to get even without physical harm. My name is John Ting. I practice immigration law in the United States in Houston, Texas. Here to answer your questions, all right? So you're welcome to drop your question down in the comment section, and I'll try my best to answer them. Sometimes we get a lot of questions, and I try to go quickly. And if I don't get to you, I apologize in advance. I'll be happy to answer it tomorrow. We go live. Hi, Esmeralda. Okay, well, hope it went well. Thanks for joining, even after the call. Happy to learn about your feedback on that. I try to make it easier to share information, so I appreciate it, Esmeralda. All right, I'm trying to look at like two screens at once. All right. Let's see, I see some questions, but let me just share some information for the topic of the day. Of course, a lot of people believe that VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, is only for females. It is for any gender, okay? Okay, good to know, Esmeralda. So it's for any gender. Now, the second thing you need to know about that is that you need to file within 2 years, okay? If you were to get divorced, you need to file within 2 years. It's very, very important, because if you don't and you wait more time, you're not going to be able to file for it. So don't wait, all right? If you already know about VAWA, talk to a lawyer, all right? And just because today I had a consultation strategy session with new clients that just signed up today, and it had already been 2 years. Fortunately, there's other options for them, and we're able to work it out. Let's see. We're located in Houston, Texas, and another attorney shares their office in Dallas, where I used to be, so we can meet up in Dallas if needed. Let's see, let me go to some questions here. Now, the third thing, which is the main thing in the question here, is can I file for VAWA without any physical harm? And yes, you can. Can you file without a police report? Yes, you can. Now, keep in mind, you have to have some kind of detailed story, telling the truth about your situation. All right, it's very important. And let's see here. Okay, that. All right, so let me answer some questions in the meantime. Sorry, I'm trying to do like 5 things at once. Edit here. There we go. All right, I was trying to go live on Instagram too. That did not work. Okay. All right, let's see. Some questions here. I'm located in Houston, Texas. Where are y'all at? By the way, that person that was here earlier, of course, I don't disclose names, so but it's a common thing. She actually got a request for evidence, and she filed her 751 application in 2020. Okay, 2020, and she finally just got the first and maybe the only RFE last week. Okay, it's crazy. 3 years, if my math is correct, could be a little wrong. 3 freaking years to wait for some kind of update. Now, of course, she received the updated extensions, and as I tell everyone, even on live shows, that yeah, getting the extension is a good thing, but it clearly shows that the government, USCIS, is very slow to process these applications. So, of course, especially if you file jointly with your spouse, in the pandemic's past, a lot of things can a lot of things can happen. So you might not be together. So you might have to update that application. All right, for the 751 to show that you were divorced. Now keep in mind, on the application 751, it talks about divorce as an option, but there's also another option that says battered or suffered extreme cruelty. So if you don't have any physical abuse and you have a 751 case or pending, you want to update it to mark extreme cruelty. Okay, some people forget that. So that's what we're going to do for this client as soon as possible. Let's see here. All right, now I'm going to answer some questions. So you're welcome to drop it in the comment section or chat box. Here I see Daphne. Daphne, you say in July 2020, you became a citizen. Congrats. And you filed in 2018. Okay, when you commented, I wasn't live yet, but do you have a question, Daphne, if you're on? All right, Relief on TikTok. What's going on, y'all? Happy New Year to you. You filed your sister's I-130. It's been 10 years. Okay, Relief. Well, I'm sure you know this, but you check the visa bulletin. 10 years is, the rough estimate. So you definitely want to check the visa bulletin to see if it's on chart B at least, to see if it's ready to upload those documents to the CAC portal. And you may have done that, but yeah, maybe check every month now that you're at 10-year mark. Okay, let me swipe this over so I can see the comments larger. Someone asked about, okay, Motivation asked on TikTok, you're an international student. Is it possible to apply for asylum? Yes, because you're here with student visa, you can apply for asylum at any time. Usually it's within the 1 year of entry. That's assuming someone entered without, without visa. But now you're here with a visa, it's filing within 1 year of your status expiring. So if you know that if you have suffered past persecution or fear of future persecution, you should file for asylum. So, if I were a USCIS officer, I'd never work for USCIS, but I would think that it'd be a little bit strange to me if someone has filed for asylum several years later after entry, even if you were still on some kind of non-immigrant visa, like a student visa, right? Like why wait? So if the situation has come to that you have that story, the true story, then file for asylum now, even if you have a student visa right now or non-immigrant visa. Okay, let's see. Dudu Santos on YouTube. Hello, VAWA timeline. Is it same if you apply for USA citizen or green card holder? It's supposed to match up on the timeline as if you were sponsored by that person, but it doesn't. So generally speaking, if your ex-spouse was a U.S. citizen or is a U.S. citizen, then it's supposed to be faster. But they don't have a specific. Let me see if I can find it. They don't have a specific separate option just to pick VAWA, unfortunately. They do have I-360, but when you select 485 on the processing time, let me see if I can share my screen on YouTube at least. Can y'all hear me okay, by the way? I don't have that extra mic right now. Okay, here we go. So you can see here, you have the option to select I-360. Sorry, folks, on TikTok, I am only able to share my screen. I'm showing the processing time on YouTube and Facebook because of this program. So for I-360 online, you can select VAWA just for I-360, okay, for processing time. And this one shows 37 months. 80% of cases in general are completed in 37 months. That's ridiculous, right? So let's go back to, and they don't segment it on here to be different depending who is the spouse. And ultimately, you can't change that fact. So in that sense, it doesn't matter, but because they don't segment it for us. Now here on 485, unfortunately, it doesn't have a different, it doesn't show you, like, I'm clicking drop down menu here on form category, but it's employment-based, family-based, grant of asylum more than a year ago, refugee asylum more than a year ago, approved T visa, approved U visa, but doesn't have one about like victim-based. Okay, so unfortunately, so that's why. But anyways, okay, so hopefully it helps to some extent. All right, is witnessing a crime, can that get you a visa? I'm assuming get your green card. That's called an S visa. I mean, some people can call that the snitch visa, but that's pretty rare. I've asked the U.S. attorney about that before. So when someone was picked up by Border Patrol or Border Protection, and they were forced to be a witness, and he didn't want to be a witness. Not many people want to be a snitch. And I asked if he could get an S visa, and they're like, their office in Houston doesn't. In the history of the time that he's been there, they haven't ever done that. I was like, that's ridiculous, because he's being forced to testify against his will, basically. All right, so doesn't hurt to try. I did have a time. I remember that DA, district attorney in some county in Massachusetts, I believe, or New York, they're willing to sign off on it, but that person, I guess, maybe I didn't do a good enough job to explain the situation. They didn't sign up. So some people know that they have an option available, but they just don't take action on it. And you really need to think about that. Why do you, yeah, folks, follow what Carwin says, 888, and tap the screen for me, please, if you don't mind. If you appreciate the content, the information I share, please tap the screen and give us a follow. I know on TikTok it pops up and down at some point. Appreciate it. YouTube, Facebook, if you can do that down below. If you want to receive this content in the future, I try to go live every day, Monday through Friday, unless I'm out of town for an interview or something, like I was yesterday in Dallas for a USCIS interview, adjustment status marriage interview. Happy to share about that as well. Now, Sarah on TikTok's asking, you got your conditional green card and was divorced. What will you do when you renew your GC? So you cannot renew your, great question. You cannot renew your green card when you have conditional residence status. You have to file a different application. That's called remove conditions, because many people actually get this wrong, and it happens. It's quite, it's understandable to get it wrong, because the I-90, just human nature, reasonably, you would renew your green card if you have conditional status. But in America, that step is actually called remove conditions, okay, within the 3 months within the 2 years expiration date. So a lot of people file the wrong form and file the I-90, and then because the I-90 takes pretty much 2 years to process, by that point you may have received a letter in the mail to say you had to show up to court, and you're thinking, what the hell just happened? Because you did everything right that you thought, but that's why hiring a lawyer is helpful, right? So immigration lawyer specifically, please don't hire someone else that does other kind of work. And you can clearly see that on their website. That's like civil law, criminal defense, PI, they have a long list of other stuff. If you're going to spend money on a lawyer, really consider spending your precious money on an immigration lawyer that focuses on immigration law. Okay, hope that helps. Randy asks, hello, what are the chances of getting a VAWA approved if you didn't live together? That could be difficult, but not saying it's not possible. We would need, in general, if there's no police report or anything like that, in general, we always like to ask, or whether or not you have one, a police report or any physical abuse, we really recommend that you write your story. Now, of course, even though you're telling the truth, we also recommend that you have a lawyer to help you update that letter, right? We can't write the letter for you because we weren't there in in your life situation, marriage, but it is possible. Um, but you have to explain in your letter why you didn't live together. Maybe the abuse happened pretty much very quickly right after you got married. It could happen. So um, everyone's circumstance is different. Okay, Teresa on TikTok, where can I find your information? I think is what you're asking for help about your situation. So Teresa and anyone else, you can subscribe, follow Hip here. You can go to and DM us if you're at work, especially, or if you have the luxury of time and you're sitting here like me, then you can go to greencardguys.com. All right. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, you can see this right here, freevisaquiz.com. But if you go to greencardguys.com, go to contact us page. All right. And let's see if I can find it here for y'all. Contact us page. And then answer a couple questions. Click on option 1, verify now to access an opportunity for the strategy session at no cost to you. All right. No cost. For 15 minutes generally. So of course, sometimes we're happy to go longer, but generally speaking, we really have trained my attorneys to do the best they can to answer the questions in 15 minutes. Sometimes it goes longer, and that's okay. But after you fill out that form online on our website, it redirects you to, after you complete that form, redirects you to another calendar page. Essentially, you can self-schedule appointment, like I think Esmeralda did earlier, to speak to one of our cares team. It's a new process, but we find that intent is supposed to be better, so you can learn more about our law firm and what services we offer. But they're not there to answer legal questions. So if you ask the legal question, if you had that meeting, you're expecting answers to your legal questions, you're not going to get it, because I advise my cares team specialists to not answer legal questions, because inherently you would rely on it, right? But there are some situations that we do share information to train our team to share. Okay. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, don't expect them to answer legal questions in that meeting. But what they can do for you is to verify that what you're asking for service is that what we offer. Because sometimes people ask for things that we don't do, or we just refer to another lawyer. We're happy to do that if we can, if we have that resource. All right. You filed 601A in August 2020, and you still haven't heard any advice. So we recently got some approvals that we believe we filed in June 2020 for 601A provisional waiver application, and we just got that approved 1 or 2 months ago. Okay, so that's a great thing. Yours is in August 2020 you filed, so hopefully you can get some kind of hopefully a decision, okay? And hopefully in 2 months' time ish, if we're tracking it like that, if that's what they don't share that with us, but so hopefully you can check it out, processing time schedule online, okay? Now, if it's been over 4 years, then we will consider helping you file a lawsuit, okay? It can be less than that, but I really would not do less than 3 years, okay? We did file before, and it depends. Sometimes it depends on the jurisdiction, right? Sometimes depending on the jurisdiction where you live, essentially, you would get possibly better success in some areas than others, but you can't future predict, okay? That's just not possible, because even if one attorney is successful in filing in this area, it's really just based on where you live, and essentially, even if an attorney is successful in this jurisdiction, this area, you might have a different kind of case. It might be different facts. So it's hard to say black and white, okay, that's going to work out. But we're happy to chat. That's why we have the strategy session at no cost to help you out and learn more about your case. So Randy, hopefully you saw that or heard me say that. We don't charge for initial. Now, if you know that you want more time, let's say like 30 minutes or more, then we do charge for that, okay? I believe it's $149 to speak to with one of my associates. If it's with me, it's $199 for a video call. Okay, so how to expedite administrative process for your dad after interview. Sasan, when was the interview? So a lot of people ask us, and you just completed the interview like a month ago or a week ago, a day ago, and people ask that question. You really need to hold your horses, unfortunately. You really need to wait. You're in for the long run. Now, some people get it done in less than 6 months, and it has nothing to do about the case, generally speaking. They're just literally putting the case file to a black hole called administrative processing. It's very, very frustrating. So if you or a family member or someone you know is in some um, process of a case where they already had the interview, visa interview abroad, and it got some status online, said visa refusal, or they got some letter and face-to-face with a clerk or officer that says administrative processing, 221G, you're in it for the long run. Of course, the first tip is you need to provide the documents that they ask for. So sometimes it could be the filling out the DS 5535 form, or it could be providing your resume. Sometimes it's ridiculous stuff they're asking for. And then you would think, oh, I'm gonna hear back like next week, right? They're not gonna answer you. It's gonna be crickets. And then 6 months later, 3 months later, you message the embassy or consulate and say, hey, I got this thing going on, my case, like I provided all the documents. What's going on? When am I going to hear back? And they just give you a generic response. And you know that you have no arrest, no concerns about national security, that your past, even if you served in the military before of your country, there should be no concern about that. But a good amount of people, they have to wait a year or more. And it's ridiculous. So we've been open to filing lawsuits for people who have waited less than a year just to push the needle, right? Because I don't like for people to wait, right? So the rule of thumb with attorneys, immigration attorneys who help with mandamus lawsuits, is to just not touch it for a year, right? But look, a lot of people tell me they want to get reunited with their spouse, their family member, there's medical concerns. So it's not going to make your case wait even longer if it didn't work out in terms of filing mandamus lawsuit, but we really try to be mindful of the typical processing time. So, you may have heard about me in a Facebook group or something, because I heard about that. So everyone's past experience that you may have heard about is going to be different. It's not always going to be the same. So that's why we do encourage y'all to schedule a strategy session with us. Because even if you heard a positive story before, your situation could be different. All right. Let's see. Randy, no worries. If VAWA is rejected, they moved removal procedures to remove a proceeding for court, or would you have an opportunity to remarry and get a green card another way? So yes, in general, if you're not rejected, but if your VAWA is denied, then some people get referred to immigration court. And referred to doesn't mean someone's going to show up to your home, but you receive a letter that says notice to appear. And the notice to appear doesn't happen for everyone. But if you get denied for removed conditions 71, and it sounds like you have a waiver type case, or divorced, or extreme cruelty, then yes, you can get remarried. And if that person's a U.S. citizen, then, and assuming you enter with a visa, then you don't have to worry about leaving the country and needing a waiver or anything like that. So it's a pretty, I wouldn't say complex strategy, but that's the general framework. Okay. That you don't, because some people ask, like some people, the new spouse, I guess you could say, they generally are, of course, open to sponsor persons like you, but if you have a pending case already, you might as well try to update that or whatnot, since you already waited X years, right? Let's see. Okay. Hopefully that helps. By the way, if y'all appreciate the way we share information, content, and especially if you talk to one of our CARES team members, specialists, And if you have time, please go to reviewtinglaw.com. We greatly appreciate it. Please mention the names because our leadership provides prizes, bonuses to our team members. Okay, thanks very much. Let's see. Only her on TikTok. Do you need to file I-130? I think that's what you meant. When filing for adjustment of status for your dad. Absolutely. You still need to file the I-130 and 485 and 864. There's I don't think it's too many forms, but there are several forms, not just one. Okay. And it also depends if your dad, as you say, dad, your parent entered America with a visa. If your parent entered America without a visa, technically you can file a petition, but your parent would need to be eligible for a waiver, provisional unity waiver, the 601A. Because it sounds, by the way you phrase your question, it sounds like your dad is here in America. And even though you're a son or daughter, children do not count as qualifying relative for the 601A application. I know, it's nuts. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, but that's the way the law is, unfortunately. That's the other thing I was going to mention. Let me pin Mikwa's question or comment here. So when you receive the notice to appear, in a worst case scenario, you receive the notice to appear in the mail. On the bottom left, it has like service date, and it may even have a future court hearing. But that court hearing, at least they're supposed to be putting a court hearing on the bottom left, I believe. If they don't if you want to check it, okay, you want to verify it. Because, and maybe Mikwa knows this by now, but if you type in a Google search EOIR, automated something, case information, you're going to enter your alien number, a number, and then it's going to that's the most like up to date when your court hearing is going to be. So for Mikwa, if it doesn't show anything in that EOIR system, then in a sense that could be a good thing. In the past, that's a good thing, right? You're hanging out, but I know a lot of people are actually eligible to get the case dismissed. So sometimes Department of Homeland Security, those attorneys are a bit slower to get a case dismissed when there is no hearing. There's no activity, essentially, in that case. All right, great questions, folks. I'll probably answer about 2 more questions in the meantime, just because I need to get to a team meeting and do some work. Or other work, of course. I should consider this work. But if you have a moment, go ahead to if you have a Facebook group, join our Facebook group called Green Card Guys Academy. Go to tinglawclub.com. tinglawclub.com. We are going to share more information there. Okay, more tips. So if anything is a written format, so you don't, forget it. Because I know some of y'all prefer to have something visual, right? I totally understand. So take advantage of that. Go to tinglawclub.com. Join the club, folks. All right. How long does it take for a citizen dad to file for adult child? Child is already in the States. How long does it take for child dad or citizen dad, child dad? I'm mixing up the words here. It depends on the entry, of course. Did the child enter or did you enter with a visa? But if so, then generally about, but did you say adult child? Then that is a family preference case. So if the child is an adult already, over 21, then that's a family preference case. And I do not recommend the child to be here, adult child, long-term, unless the adult child has a non-immigrant visa, because you do not want to fail to maintain status. When it's a family preference case, you have to show that you've maintained some kind of non-immigrant status, visa. Otherwise, you're going to have to apply for a waiver that currently takes 601A application takes 44 months. Ridiculous. Before the pandemic, took average 8 months, and I was sharing this kind of data points with other attorneys, and it was much quicker. That's not the case anymore. All right. Can you petition for your parents who are, thanks for joining live. Appreciate it. If you have questions in the future, because this is going to be my last question to answer, I have to get to a team meeting. I think on TikTok, I think you can ask me a question as a comment on one of the videos. If you want to try to get an answer quicker, I try to speed my ability to record answers. If you can, in case you can't go on the live show tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's Saturday. Never mind. I mean Monday. So, or there's another function I think on TikTok. See, I gotta learn it, but that you ask me a question a different way, and I can record it quicker. It's be much more, I could do it easily. Yeah, record easily. All right, now to the question. Can you petition for your parents who are on TPS here in the U.S.? Sorry, I didn't see the last part, but yes, in general, you can petition your parents, right? But as I was mentioning to someone else before, you want to make sure, check how they enter America. Was it with a visa or not? If it was without a visa, you got to make sure that your parents have a qualifying relative, okay, for waiver. And unfortunately, if you're the adult child, you don't count as qualifying relative for this, for the purposes of unlawful presence, okay. And the immigration then need proof of birth certificate, show proof of your relationship, of course. Okay, all right, one more question, and this will be the last one for now. Thanks so much for your patience, and thanks so much for the roses. I know Susan sent me a rose earlier. Esmeralda, if you're still on, we'll get in contact with you, and I'll look at your questions from earlier. Hopefully you got set up with a meeting though, okay? Okay, the question is, can someone fix status by creating their own business? Property was purchased for the business, 800,000. In day, thanks for your roses. It's not that easy, okay? It also depends if you have status now or not. If you don't have status now, it's possible. It becomes more difficult, of course, and it's risky, but it depends on a lot, if you file for asylum and have some kind of able to apply for advanced parole. So if it's been many years since entry and you didn't apply for asylum, then I would say no, all right, if you're here undocumented. But if you're here on a visitor visa, or you have not entered America yet, even though you have purchased property in America, yes, that can count as for investor visa. It's not that 1.2 million or 1.8 million one. I'm not talking about EB5. I'm talking more about the E1 or E2 visa. So happy to learn more about your business, okay? Contact us for a strategy session. No cost to you. All righty, folks. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Hopefully the sound was okay. And we'll be in touch, okay? See you. Have a great Friday, great weekend. TJF, Happy New Year. Tap the screen if you can. I don't know if that even matters, to be honest, but it is cool, I guess. And follow and subscribe for more, okay? You'll have a good one. Take care now.